We are live. Welcome to another episode of Spicy Takes. This is episode 21. And if this is your first time of joining, welcome, welcome. And if you're always here with us, thank you for coming back for another episode. And of course, you know how this goes. If you know there's anybody that needs to be here, do make sure to share the link with them. Let them know that we have started. And of course, the space is being recorded. So if you miss any part of this, you can always go back to that. So we're going to be keeping 2 days short. We are talking about how Spice Flow flows through ecosystem, and as you're joining in, just drop in a spicy emoji, your favorite emoji. Let's know that you can hear us and you are live here with us. Friend G Spice, Arinze G Spice. I can see you guys in the chat. Um, Emmanuel G Spice. Thank you guys for joining in. And yeah, so, of course, I am Amara, and today we are talking on how app scales through chains and most Spice Flow means for ecosystem development. And of Mr. Pepe, thank you once more for joining us. I
Yes.
guess he needs no introduction. He's the co-founder of SpiceNet and is always almost every time here with us. Now, over the next 20 to 30 minutes, we are going to be exploring the friction points developers face today and how infrastructure like SpiceNet and product like SpiceFlow unlocks new possibilities and what this all means for the future of ecosystem and user adoption. Now, for those listening, don't forget that this is Spicy Takes. So drop your takes in the chat. And of course, I'll be pulling some up on the screen. And we are going to be doing this together. So we're just going to do a little bit of background again for Spice Flow. I know we've been on this for the greater part of September, but it's always good to jog the memories of our audience, and of course for those that are new to this, because we're having new community members join us every day. So for the benefit of that, please can you tell us what is Spice Flow and what does it why does it matter for scaling apps across multiple chains?
Yeah, so SpiceFlow is a tool that gives scalable distribution to applications on any EVM chain without the need for them to tweak or redeploy any smart contracts. Essentially, what we do is we just allow them to connect to an API, which will allow their users or new users, right, is kind of the hope here, um, to use their application from other blockchains. So this basically means that you're somebody sitting on Arbitrum, you want your users from Ethereum mainnet, you integrate SpiceFlow, and then users from Ethereum mainnet can use you all of a sudden, and then you don't need to redeploy to all these new chains when you want to move to more and more chains. In fact, like, you just tap into all of the ones that SpiceNet has adapters on. We can deploy to a new chain in about a day. So if you're worried about whether we'll have that new chain that all the users are on, yeah, we got you. So that's SpiceFlow. I see a comment here asking
Yeah.
if we're having a guest from Injective. Yeah, that was the hope. So we did deploy onto Injective's testnet, and we are able to serve clients on Injective now, which is awesome. Unfortunately, our guest couldn't make it today. I'm assuming caught in travels with Korean Blockchain Week, or with Token in Singapore, which is next week. So we'll have to kind of circle back with them and see if we can get them on for one of the next episodes. But yeah, essentially we're now offering our services on Injective as well and serving clients over there. Just another one of the awesome blockchains joining our arsenal. If you guys didn't see my tweet, I was basically talking about how this is a prime example of one of my theses, that there needs to be a lot of different blockchains, because each blockchain that has more specific use cases is going to provide better infrastructure for those use cases. There's actually a rule not to go on too much of a tangent here, but there was a rule that I learned in my computer engineering degree. It's called the no free lunch theorem, and the rule basically dictates that a piece of software. This is talking about optimization algorithms specifically, but if you apply it to software more generally, it still holds. Where the more general you try to make a software, so the more things that one piece of software is trying to do and accomplish, the worse it gets at accomplishing each one of those things. So what this means is it's the same with blockchains, right? You have blockchains like Ethereum, they're very good at providing general purpose architecture for people to deploy applications on. But if you have like a specific type of application, in the case of Injective, it's like finance heavy applications. They have built more catered technology to serve those types of applications. So those applications building on Injective are going to have a competitive advantage. And the thing I love most about SpiceFlow is like we allow people to build where they're going to have that best tech stack to have the competitive advantage that they want to provide their users, but not have to worry about if the users are going to be able to find their way over to you. You're just building in the best place and then bringing the product to where all the users are at.
Yeah, amazing. So I want us to take another approach for SpiceFlow because we've been on this. We've done multiple space in the past about SpiceFlow, and we are still on it. So from your own personal perspective, right? Aside what we already know SpiceFlow to be, through the SpiceNet lens, of course, through the socials, from your own personal perspective of what SpiceFlow is, what are like one so my first question is, what are the biggest blockers for apps trying to scale across ecosystems, number one, and how does SpiceFlow address those from your own personal perspective?
I'm actually just getting a message from the Injective team right now, so I'm just gonna shoot them a response.
Oh, okay, let me check. Oh, yeah. Okay, let me see so that I can accept him in. Hey guys, sorry about that breaking transmission. For those just joining, welcome. We are talking about SpiceFlow flowing through ecosystem, and we're trying to get our guests to join us in. And of course, we have Matt here with us. And if you have any takes from what you know about SpiceFlow in the past, if you have any questions, just drop them in the chat. Matt is here to provide us with answers and also amplify whatever take it is that you have. So now going back to my initial, okay, I think Rocky's here, so I'm just going to add him in.
Hey, there he is.
Oh, I think
there he is again.
How's it going, everyone?
Good. Nice to have you, Rocky. Thanks for joining.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us. And, it sounds like Justin is having some travel difficulties over with KBW and everything. So apologies for the last minute switch out. But
no, that's okay. I was actually just telling Emma, like, it's my 5th call of the week that I joined and then I didn't have somebody show up, like, for whatever the purpose of the call was. So yeah, I just start to understand that, okay, there's probably like difficulties getting around there. I know at previous events that I've been at, especially in Asia, it's like the city is just packed and you can never get places on time. Like when I was at DevCon, you had to take a motorcycle if you wanted to get anywhere on time. So yeah, I assume he's just had some difficulties. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. They left you back at the desk for this week?
They did. Yeah. A 25-hour flight, for me was kind of out of the question. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So you're in North America then?
I am. Yeah, I'm calling in from Arizona.
Okay, cool. I'm Canadian, so yeah, I have done that mission before to get to Thailand for DevCon. It's not for the faint at heart.
I was there, and a lot of our team was there too, and it was quite the experience. Let's just say that. Not only the jet lag, and then like you said before, just like the travel distance. You're like, oh, it's only 3 miles away. It's going to take me 5 minutes to get there. An hour later, you're still, in a car or on a bike or
Yeah.
whatever. It was insanity.
Oh yeah, it's chaos. I love it, honestly. Like I thought it was so much fun, but it's pretty chaotic. But
Yeah.
before you joined us, I was actually telling everyone one of my theses in DeFi is around like purpose-built blockchains, because I think that as a rule of thumb in software in general, like I was even saying this is something they taught in my education in my computer engineering degree, is like the more general you try to make a piece of software, the less good it gets at doing each and every individual task that it's asked to do. And I was saying Injective is a great example of like why you should look to build outside of the Ethereum layer one. Because if you're building a finance heavy application, like you're going to have a competitive advantage building on Injective. Could you maybe speak more to that and elaborate where I could not continue to on some of the many reasons that it's better to build on Injective for those types of applications?
And
Sure.
to add to that, we also like to, if you can give us like a quick intro into your role so that our audience can
Yeah,
meet
that's
you, of
it.
course.
Yeah.
The role at Injective. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, happy to answer both of those. So, starting with the introductions, I'm Rocky. I lead our ecosystem marketing efforts here at Injective, and been in the space now about 8 years, professionally about 5 or so years. And so, sort of my journey has been from sort of the investor side of things, investing in crypto 2017, got to see the ICO boom and all that, and then from there moved into running my own meetup group, because I was like, I'm a non-technical person, but I want to learn more. How do I do that? And so I joined and actually ran my own meetup for a couple years, and then was like, hey, I'm running this meetup group, but I'm not getting paid for it. Like, how can I actually get paid to join this space? And so ended up joining Avalanche about a week before they went on mainnet, and so got to see sort of the growth of that layer one blockchain, and saw the team grow from about 30 to 40 people to where they're at today of multi-hundred amount of people, and really got to experience sort of the growth from a layer one blockchain firsthand, right? And so was really intrigued with sort of their thesis on sort of this many blockchain sort of theory about how you have all these interconnected blockchains sort of working as one. Ended up sort of leaving in 2023 for a few reasons, and then took some time off just for sort of personal reasons, and that led me to kind of finding Injective and joining the team just over a year ago in August of last year. But to answer your question, second question is, I again come from a non-technical background. I'm not a developer by trade by any means, but there was also a similar theory that I learned in business school, which is kind of the boil the ocean concept of like, if you try to boil the ocean, first of all, good luck, and number two is you'll be a lot less effective in your sort of journey as you sort of embark on these various things. And so I think that's really what led me to Injective in the first place. Was, like you said, it's very just purpose built, right, for the finance vertical. Like we try not to get too, I guess, dilute ourselves too much, and really sort of from the get-go, we were always thinking about how can we cater ourselves to further this sort of financial paradigm to the next level. And some of our thesis around that was just like greater access, right? So giving institutions and retail greater access to these sort of TradFi-esque type of operations in an on-chain format. And so that's always been our way of like, how do we sort of, instead of boil the ocean, how do we really narrow ourselves down to just like one area and really like attack that with all we have? And I think that we've shown like we've been able to, be ahead on a lot of these different sort of theses and developments that are happening in crypto, right? We launched on-chain stocks like end of last year, early this year, and like that's like now just getting sort of legs. So I feel like we've positioned ourselves well, and we're always kind of keeping a pulse on like what's happening and what's next. And that's really what's kind of led us to today, and really kind of innovating at the edge of finance.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for that. What more specifically, like what are some of the things that are available to developers or like app builders on Injective that make it a superior option?
Yeah, great question. So I think, coming back to what I was saying before about just like we're very purpose built. One of the things that we've really innovated on are our on-chain modules. And so what these enable developers to tap into are, well, I guess some of the benefits they're going to see utilizing these on-chain modules are like time to market, I think is really important. Again, coming from like a more business background is like, how can I get to market as fast as possible and start that feedback loop, and try and sort of compress that feedback loop into the shortest amount of time. So that way I'm able to really scale my app to the next level in the shortest amount of time. And so these modules, I'll give like two examples, one of which is our exchange module. This essentially allows a app developer to launch their application and have liquidity from day one. So typically what we see in other ecosystems is these dApp builders launch and they're at zero liquidity. And then they're like, okay, now we need a bootstrap liquidity. And now there's like a time delay between launch and actually bootstrapping that liquidity. Well, what's cool about Injective and this exchange module is now someone can deploy and from day one have the entire sort of shared liquidity layer at their disposal.
Mhm.
And so now there's no cold start problem. Now you've gotten to market that much faster because you're not having to bootstrap liquidity, and it just like makes for a lot better user experience as well as a developer experience at a very high level. I'll talk about one other module that I think is really being utilized at a high level is our RWA module. And so this is like purpose built and catered for more institutional players looking to launch, whether it's assets or whether it's infrastructure on Injective. The cool thing about our RWA layer is it allows an institution to actually have at the chain layer like permissioned assets, essentially like KYC and AML and all these other types of compliance and regulatory strings that they need to pull. Well, this is integrated at the chain level to where these assets now are being issued to only whitelisted addresses or only KYC participants. There's just like a lot of sort of permissions that they can add to these to be in compliance, and I think that's honestly a reason why we haven't seen like a ton of innovation happening on the institutional level with these other chains, is because they can't, right? They can't release an asset that has these permissions built in. It's not compliant for them. And so the fact that we have it sort of built in at the ground layer allows for these things to then be issued and to be scaled in quick succession.
Yeah, I think that's huge, honestly. Like that's one of the things that I think proves my thesis the quickest, especially in this time, is like you're just not allowed to do some things, right? So you need to have the infrastructure that makes it safe to do that in the first place. Do you think that with chains like you guys and then other blockchains that are also, not trying to boil the ocean, like where do you think that leaves the general purpose chains like your Ethereum layer one? Is there kind of a world in which both of those things make sense to have in tandem, or do you think like we'll move more to these purpose built blockchains exclusively?
It's a good question. I think there's room for both. I think, for instance, like with Ethereum as kind of this general purpose like settlement layer, I think they've definitely sort of won that narrative, and obviously we've seen from a TVL perspective and a lot of these other perspectives, like they definitely have a place in this greater ecosystem. And for instance, like I think another chain that has done exceptionally well is Solana, right? They really captured the meme coin boom, right? So like from a use case specific chain, I think they've definitely sort of won on the meme coin side, or have they done really well on the meme coin side. And so I think there's not going to be a world in which I see like a winner take all, right? Because I just, quite frankly, I don't think even Ethereum at the level it is today, or maybe could support all of finance or all of on-chain transactions as a whole. And so I certainly see both general purpose and use case specific chains winning in the long term, and there being a future in which sort of all these types of chains sort of exists in tandem, and that's, I think, where maybe you guys fit in with regards to a future in which it's sort of all interconnected. And so
Mhm.
you want to do some financial transactions. Okay, we go to, we do some operations on Injective. Okay, we want to trade these meme coins or do some interesting things with meme coins. Okay, then we kind of move over to Solana. There's just like a lot of these use cases that I think will continue to exist and continue to thrive. And I think it's a future where all of us win.
Yeah, definitely. I think you hit the nail on the head, and like thanks for teeing us up on that, obviously. But
Yeah, of course.
that's kind of the extension of my thesis and how it relates to SpiceNet is like we need all of these different blockchains because they provide a different niche, right? And there are so many different niches that we need to have if this is going to be like the next finance, the future of finance, right? But yeah, you're going to need access to those other things, right? You're going to want to have your funds here and still be able to access the products over there. And the thing that I said about SpiceFlow that I love the most before you got on here is that it empowers people to build where it actually makes sense. Because I know as a developer as well, like you're kind of thinking about, okay, well, where should I build my service? And most of the thing that sways people right now is like, am I going to be able to get liquidity here? Am I going to be able to get users here? And that's why most builders aren't building on some of these more obscure blockchains, because it's like, even though this is a better place for me to build my application, I'm just not going to have the users. So I think that with a product like ours, you'll see more people building on some of these more bespoke blockchains because they don't have to think about where the users are coming from, right? And you mentioned Solana as well. We had a guy bugging us in here asking when we're going to offer Solana. I'll say soon, which in crypto means absolutely nothing, but it's definitely on the roadmap for us. And obviously that's like a big unlock in our kind of milestone story as well, because then you have like across VMs, not just across different blockchains. So I hope that that gives you enough hope there, RNs, to hang on to. But yeah, I mean, I liked your description of the modules. This is like something that we thought about building a while back at SpiceNet as well. We decided to go in a different direction, but I'm glad somebody is, because this is something I was excited to use when we were first kind of thinking about building these things out as well.
100%. Yeah, and I think to add another maybe detail here, we have or we currently are in the process of launching our EVM environment, and so that now this is going to allow for not only sort of WASM developers or developers that have been part of the Cosmos side of things to also kind of coexist and to build alongside EVM developers, right? Developers using Solidity and whatnot. And so, we definitely see a future in not only, these different chains winning, but also multiple virtual machines winning too, right? I think there's a place for, if you look on the developer report that's put out by, what is it, Lightning Capital or one of these VC firms, I'm forgetting the exact name at the moment, but they put out a yearly developer report. And, they publish this report every year and sort of do periodic updates. But it just goes to show like these environments ebb and flow. These programming languages change, as far as popularity goes. And, we see a world in which, we want to support sort of people where they're at versus shoving down, you have to learn our stack in order to build with us. And you must do it our way. We go to where they are and say, okay, now we have these things where you can build where you're already knowledgeable in building, and you can just start building on us today because we support, X, Y, and Z virtual machines, X, Y, and Z toolkits, X, Y, and Z, Hard Hat, Foundry, you name it, you can utilize it. I think that's another piece of the puzzle here that's really important for the developers, and we want to be there to kind of support them.
Yeah, definitely. It's so similar to the way we're thinking, right? It's like you don't know where the future is going to be, so you want to be open to wherever it takes us. You don't want to be stuck placing a bet on one thing, right? It's the same thing with you guys in VMs, and like, yeah, I think it's kind of absurd to expect that everyone will code in the same VM. Everyone in the world doesn't speak the same language. Apps are coded in all these different coding languages. Like, the history will repeat itself, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, hi, Matt. Would you like to throw in the integration of SpiceFlow for developers building on Injective? How seamless is this integration? Would you like to throw more light on that?
Yeah, sure. So we do have documentation that we've put out there so people can try this integration on their own. But for the most part, we're actually building this for people at the moment. So that's kind of the exciting thing. If you're somebody that wants to be trying this out, like, you can hit us up and you can join our wait list when our devs have time. We're building out these integrations for people, and that at that point it's very low lift for you. But for our devs, it takes like about a week to create one of these integrations. Comparatively, like if you're thinking about offering your services on different chains, it usually takes a couple of weeks to deploy on one blockchain. So I would say the difference between doing that yourself and doing it through our integration is pretty massive.
Okay, thank you for that. So for the devs listening in, this is the time for you to come on board, integrate as soon as possible. So I'm seeing some comments here. So Matt, would you like to give them a little bit, or should I say insider info?
Yeah, we didn't announce this yet, but yeah, we did deploy our adapter as well on Monad. So if you're a founder, Halo, or if you have founder friends, tell them to hit us up.
Yeah, we are currently live on Monad and some other chains that should be announced in the coming weeks. And of course, so this should be my last question. We've spent over 30 minutes here. And the question is directed to you, Rocky. From your own personal perspective, like, what do you think, SpiceFlow is, what do you think is going to be like the benefits, and how do you see it, changing how apps scale, how it helps developers in the next 12 to 24 months and all of that? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll kind of tie in sort of two angles here, and one of which is, alluding to what I was saying before. The future is going to be multi-chain. The future is going to be opportunities are going to exist everywhere, right? Or in a lot of different places. And so, here at Injective, we definitely see the power in building, a composability first type of blockchain, because we do realize, like Matt was saying earlier, having your funds here and then being able to take advantage of opportunities not only within Injective, but also on various other chains enabled by, let's say, a SpiceFlow, I think is just so powerful and will further incentivize people to, want to, store their funds and to use DeFi applications on Injective, because they're able to take advantage of that sort of composability and cross-chain nature that we've sort of built from the beginning here. And so, in the future, I could totally imagine, and maybe it is 12 to 24 months, or even less, right? Or it could be more. But from the standpoint of being able to, have that sort of interoperability and have those opportunities sort of presented in a very, easy to find way, in a very, way that's not super complex, right? I think today or in the past, we've seen users really complain about like the bridging experience. That's a huge, I think, detriment to this whole entire sort of crypto ecosystem. Is that if I want to take advantage of an opportunity on, let's say, Solana, but I need a bridge, from Injective to Ethereum and then Ethereum to Solana. I mean, that's just horrendous, right? That's a terrible user experience, and I think that's why we've seen mainstream adoption definitely be, I think, curtailed in a lot of ways, is because of that sort of really degraded user experience. But with applications, like SpiceNet and like kind of the interoperability built from the ground up on Injective, we see that future of where, anybody can take advantage of any opportunity on any chain in a matter of a few seconds. And I think without this sort of complex bridging, in the background and all these other things happening, that's the future I think that I see, and I think we're building towards here at Injective. So not only is it like at a developer layer with all these virtual machines and modules, it's also at the user layer of understanding you can take advantage of any opportunity you see. And we want to be able to kind of plug into those at a very sort of native and easy to understand and easy to use way. And so that's how I see things, and would love to kind of learn what you guys see on your side.
Totally. Yeah. I was gonna agree, like, and kind of the sentiment I get from that is very much like something I always like to say, which is experimentation is what leads to innovation. And I think that you guys, by like shortening the time to market and creating that instant feedback loop, is more inspiring to people thinking, should I build, right? Like if you make it 10 times easier for people to build products, then people are that much more likely to try in the first place. And then the same goes for us. Like we do that on the user end, where like somebody sees your product, and I know I'm guilty of this. I see things all the time on crypto Twitter. I'm like, that looks sick. I better try it out. Like everyone right now is talking about Lighter. I still haven't tried it. I want to, but I haven't, right? And like anything that we can do to make that easier for users to try these products that are being created, in my mind, is making it much more likely that these developers are going to succeed because they get people trying in the first place. So I think both of us kind of working together, creating just a more inspiring place for building is what I would say, for experimentation, and then together we'll end up creating much more innovation through that.
So
Bingo.
when Rocky was speaking, I could see you smiling from year to year. You were looking so proud to be doing this. And you could see, the facial. You were so happy. You were so proud hearing SpiceFlow from another party. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I was smiling because I like working with people that I feel like share a similar value. So having a guy like Rocky on, even if he's talking about SpiceFlow or whatever it may be, I just feel like the same sentiments as he does. And yeah, it makes me bullish to be working with Injective. So yeah, that's why I was smiling.
Okay, thank you guys for joining in. Rocky, is there anything you would like to add for the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, and anything coming up for you guys that you want to make sure people get their eyes on?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I think you guys kind of highlighted it before. If it wasn't clear, we are building an EVM on the native sort of Injective chain. And that's, where SpiceFlow will be integrated, and a lot of these other applications. But, if you're a developer, we'd love to have you on board. Our public testnet is currently underway at the moment. We are expecting mainnet to happen sort of, as Matt would say, soon. And so, we're currently in kind of the private mainnet phase. So that's where all the developers are essentially integrating and making sure their applications sort of work and are fully battle tested for once we flip the switch to public mainnet, everything kind of goes off without a hitch. And so, yeah, we'd definitely love to have you on board. We are getting sort of close here, without saying too much, but we're happy to be working with guys like here at SpiceNet and really making the user experience world class, right? Because anything less, I think, is a detriment to the whole ecosystem. So definitely jump on board if you want to go to or want to search out more info about us here at Injective and the EVM we're building. Definitely go to our website or here on X, just injective.com, or search Injective on X. And then also our dedicated EVM page, you can search multivm.injective.com, and that's kind of our portal to all things Injective. So would love to have you guys on board. And yeah, thank you SpiceNet for hosting us today, and really looking forward to building the future of finance with y'all.
Hell yeah, more coming soon.
Yeah, so thank you, Rocky and Paprika, for joining us for this episode of Spicy Takes. Today was really packed on how, ecosystem are shaped by both infrastructure and narrative, and how SpiceFlow comes in play to redefining distribution and scale for apps across chain. And of course, to our wonderful audience that always tune in, thank you so much for joining. And if you missed any part of this, know that it is being recorded, of course, and it will be available immediately after the space this ends. And of course, please do follow SpiceNet, follow Injective, and of course our guests. Rocky, would you like to call out your undo so that people could follow through?
Sure. Yeah, my handle on X is at a Rocky Rock, and then Injective is just at Injective on X.
Okay, thank you so much. See you all next week for another Spicy Take episode. Bye. Stay spicy.
Stay spicy, y'all. Take care.